All right, for today's lecture, we're going to talk about America's involvement in World War One. And for a lot of students, when we started this imperialism unit, you said World War One is something that you're definitely interested in. We can really see World War One as the culmination of decades of imperialism. So this whole imperialist movement, not only in America, but across the globe, was picking up in the 1890s and 1900s. And then when you get to the 19 teens, it's going to be part of the outbreak of the Great War. If you remember from World Civ, sometimes you talk about the main causes of World War One: militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. And I hope in all of this stuff that we've done, you've said, is America becoming a greater military power? Yes. Are we imperializing? Yes. Is there pride and patriotism growing? Nationalism? Yes. And so all of those causes of imperialism are also going to be causes of this war, not just for America, but for other countries. The only other thing globally from World Civ, as far as the start of World War One, I hope you guys remember that story about the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The heir to the throne in Austria was assassinated, and that kind of started a domino effect of European countries going to war in 1914. So World War One begins in 1914. And the question for America is, do we get involved? What role are we going to play in this? In class, what we're going to look at is some documents, as we usually do. We're going to look at some primary sources and answer some questions and take some notes. I'm not going to read these documents to you, but again, down on the unit page, they're called Causes of World War One document set. And I'll put them up on the screen while I share a little bit about America's involvement in World War One. The important thing to know, I guess maybe the most important thing, is that America is not involved in World War One for the majority. The war starts in 1914, and America will not join the war until midway through 1917. So for the first 2.5, 3 years of the war, America is a neutral bystander. And that was our official position. This speech here was in August of 1914, and Woodrow Wilson, our president, is saying America is going to stay out of World War One. We're going to be neutral. And he gives some different reasons there. You can read through them. He basically says, we've got allies on both sides, and we will mediate, but we will not take a side. We will be neutral. Fast forward 3 years. This next page is April in 1917. And in this speech, it's the same speaker, Woodrow Wilson, but now he's asking Congress to make a declaration of war for America to go. And so a good historical student should be saying, okay, so what changed from 1914 to 1917? In this speech, Woodrow Wilson points out two things. One, he's saying that Germany is using their new technology, what's called a U-boat or a submarine, and that Germany is waging unrestricted submarine warfare against commerce ships, meaning that the German Navy is sinking ships in the Atlantic Ocean, and some of those ships have American goods. Some of those ships have American people, and some of those ships might even be American-owned ships. The most famous example was actually a British ship called the Lusitania, and when it was sunk, 128 Americans lost their lives. And Woodrow Wilson says one reason that we now need to go to war is because while we were neutral, Germany was sinking American ships or ships with American goods and people, and we needed to retaliate against Germany. The second thing that Wilson talks about in this speech is, one of his famous quotes. He says, "The world must be made safe for democracy." During World War One, the Central Powers, who are going to be our enemies, countries like Germany and Austria-Hungary, are going to have autocratic governments that are very strong and powerful and not necessarily democratic. And Wilson says that each country should have the right to self-determination and to make their own government. And so by getting involved in World War I, we can kind of shape the world to be more democratic. This is a very idealistic goal, but it goes along with Wilson's view of imperialism, which was called missionary or moral imperialism. Wilson wants to spread democracy. So one reason America gets involved in World War I is because of unrestricted submarine warfare. A second reason would be to make the world safe for democracy, promote democracy. I'm going to give you two more reasons America gets involved real quick. This little excerpt here talks about something known as the Zimmermann Note. When Germany began to see that America was turning against them, they actually reach out to Mexico. And in a secret telegram, the German foreign minister invites Mexico to join into the war with Germany against America. He makes a secret promise that if Mexico joins them and defeats America, that they would be forced that we would be forced to give back land that once belonged to Mexico, places like Texas and Arizona and the Southwest United States. This Zimmermann telegram was actually intercepted by the British and shared with us, and it really makes Americans angry, leads to us going to war. Mexico never really becomes a factor in that decision or in the war, but it definitely helped hype Americans up against Germany. This was called the Zimmermann Note or the Zimmermann Telegram. And here's a last reason that America maybe got involved in World War I, and this one is the most cynical. So if you're one of those people that likes to question the American government or says, did America always do the right thing? Historian Howard Zinn points out a more cynical or critical view of America's involvement in World War I. On this last document, he says, America said we were neutral, but we always favored Britain more than Germany. And in fact, during those years that we were neutral, we traded millions of dollars with the British and not nearly that much, or not nearly as much to Germany. It became clear late in the war that if Germany won the war, America would lose those loans. We would never get paid back. So we had a financial interest in helping Britain at the expense of Germany. In other words, Howard Zinn would say, America got involved in World War I to make money. War is good for economies a lot of times. It kind of kickstarts them. And in the case of World War I, Howard Zinn would say America joined to get paid. And of course, that's probably not as good a reason ethically as maybe some of those other causes. Okay, that's it for today. Like most things in imperialism, it's not a straight line. There are multiple causes to America's involvement in World War I. But when we get in there in 1917, it does turn the war, and the war will come to an end very quickly. The rest of this unit, we'll talk about the war's impact on America and then how it is resolved with the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, thanks for watching.